You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers today, so let's get started with Beer Cheese Benny.
Hey, Ryan, Beer Cheese Benny here. So y'all, apparently Ryan forgets stuff. I don't know if he did actually, but, I told him to play the call that I had on the draft room, on Packernet, and he's probably forgot already. So I'm just going to say the call here.
Yeah, that's fine.
By the way, you guys need to go check out draft room. Freaking awesome, dude.
Appreciate
Love you, Ryan. Love you for doing all this extra crap. But we are trying to, I'm trying to do this, but Ryan likes it. He likes the idea. Get your mock drafts in, okay? Send them to Ryan on whatever freaking social media you use. Doesn't matter. Instagram, Facebook, X. Or text,
I won't see it on Instagram, but sure.
the number for Packernet Draft Room. He already had the number out, so freaking go find it. Ryan, shout it out. He said it can receive images. Send your freaking screenshots of your drafts, and then so what we're going to do is compile all of the data from Packernet, and when we go through our mock drafts on Draft Room, he's going to compare them, and so if we have multiple guys showing up, oh dude, Packernet, a lot of guys picked this guy in the third round, oh yeah, 4 guys picked this guy out of 10 people or whatever in this round, we're going to pick this guy, and then when it's all said and done, at the final, night before or week before, whatever, the last mock draft that we do, we will come up with Packernet's dream draft or whatever. And then, when we look at it, we're like, oh, hell yeah, dude. Packernet freaking hit on 3 that the Packers picked, and we are happy. Or, we can see if we got them correct, and it'll be fun. It'll be cool. Get all your mock drafts in, people. It's not hard. All right, I don't care if you use PFF, mock draft database, NFL Buzz, whatever the hell they got out there. Just use something, dude.
NFL Draft Grades.
And come up with it. And we'll see what Packernet wants. And then it'll be epic. So I hope everybody has fun doing this. Just keep them coming. Again, text the number for Packernet. And you can send your screenshots in and make it easy on Ryan. All right, boys and girls, go Pack Go. Win the Super Bowl.
Yep, NFLDraftGrades.com. Go check it out, please. Benny, I appreciate you, as always, volunteering me to do extra work. That's great. I'm always down and would appreciate for sure if you guys send me your mock drafts and stuff to look at, ask questions, whatever. I don't know how much of what Beer Cheese Benny laid out there is officially going to get done, but it'll be on hand. Maybe I'll send it to Benny and he can compile it if he's so interested in doing so. But either way, again, I'm definitely interested in seeing it. It's good for me to be able to interact with it. I need to be on top of, first of all, what you guys are interested in as far as prospects. It's very early in the process, so there probably aren't a ton. As far as your favorites, I don't really have a list. I've got a couple that are, early sort of, might be something there kind of things, but nothing super drastic as of right now. But as that starts to happen over time, make sure you get those into me and, we can start talking about them and getting familiarized with them and whatnot. Again, it's good exercise for me to, get familiarized with these fine folks. Nico, what's up?
Brian, how the heck are you? This is Nico from Idaho. Super Bowl's finally over. Yeah, it was one of the worst ones I can remember in a long time. At least I mean, I was rooting for Seahawks like everyone else was, just to make the Vikings look bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because I hated them so much back in the day for obvious reasons. Even when I was a kid and I was a Rams fan, you know, because they used to be in the AFC, Sea Chickens. I still call them the Sea Chickens or the Cheehawks. But you know, their fans are all bandwagoners, or they only live in the Pacific Northwest. But I'm just glad the entire season's over. Obviously, during the Denver game, my hopes, as well as everyone else's hopes, just got pummeled. You know, we went from looking like the best team in the NFL to, oh crap, everyone's dead. So, obviously, I still watch the games after that because I had hope, and I'm a fan. If we're 0-16, I'll watch the 17th game, you know. But clearly the Denver game was too many losses. Yeah, I mean, is it the only reason why we didn't go further? I mean, probably not. Because even after all that, if freaking Romeo Dobbs just catches that onside kick, we at least beat the Bears in the playoffs, and then lose the next week. Would it be better than losing to the Bears? So, anyways, I'm just glad we can retool. I think Mike is going to be 100% week one. To me, he seems like one of those freaks that's just like Peterson, you know, or what's that dude from Baltimore that blew his ACL and was back like 3 months later? I forget, he's a linebacker. Allegedly, there was the steroid use going on. I can neither confirm nor deny. But, yep, just glad the season's over. Can't wait till next season. That's pretty much all I got to say. Don't care about the halftime. I didn't really hate the halftime show. Everyone's talking about it, obviously. I'm so tired of it because you either loved it or you hated it. Right. I didn't really hate it. Visually, there was way worse halftime shows.
Right.
My thing is, and no one else touching on this, you can't sing. I mean, you're a singer. You should be able to sing, right? I mean, I've been in bands. I've sang before. If I couldn't sing, I wouldn't, you know, that'd be like watching the NBA and they can't make a shot. It's similar. But anyways, go Pack, go, and let's go to next year.
He is a terrible singer, that's for sure. I don't know if it kind of falls in like the rap category where it's like, you know, a lot of rappers are terrible singers also, but it's like, I don't know, they're not singers or something. I don't know. I have no idea what the situation is there. I guess when you hide it behind enough music, it's acceptable. I don't really know. I don't know the rules, man, but yeah, it was that's why I said like the first 30 seconds of that were like, oh, this is going to be bad because there's no music. It's just him saying things and there's no rhythm to what he's saying. It doesn't sound good what he's saying. It's like this is going to be freaking miserable. And then the doom doom ding ding kicked in and I was like, okay, there you go. There's sounds, so that's good. Nico, part 2.
I will say though, and I have blamed you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the off-season junk. You know, I used to be the dude that when the off-season happened, I just turned off my football brain and followed other stuff. And I don't do that anymore. And to be honest, it actually, like last off-season was the fastest off-season, I think.
Dude, it's so fast.
I've ever had.
It's crazy because, so I was always that way too until, you know, I had even when I had the podcast, I don't think it used to be year round, or maybe it was year round, but not daily or something. But it was still kind of, you know, let's just say before the podcast, yeah, you turn your brain off and it just feels like football is gone forever. It's just gone forever and it never comes back. And then as I go through it, especially the last couple of years, you realize there's like no off season. There's like a 1 month off season and that's it. It might not even be a month. Because it's nonstop. I mean, between now and the draft, it's nonstop. And then you have the draft. And then shortly after, people start, you know, there's like a little post-draft period. Then people start showing up like immediately. And then they leave for a little bit, but then they come right back. It's like, you'll be back in like a week or two. And it just never stops. And it's freaking awesome. So, yeah, I'm telling you, I mean, if you're here right now, I'm hoping you're at least hanging in there and, you know, heard my pleas to not leave. Otherwise, you've done this before. But, I mean, football doesn't end, man. The football news, the football content, as long as you can get into the thinking and theorizing, but you should be able to because we do it during the week. I've said this before during the season. I mean, it's like the actual game day is the worst part of the week. You know, we talk all week about like, oh, it's coming up and we got this guy and it's going to be great. We're going to smash him. And then the game comes and it's just stress. It's like, oh, come on, you freaking idiots. Why don't you do your thing? And then during the week, we just daydream about stuff and like, what if and da-da-da-da-da-da. So what we do almost all week is basically what the offseason is. It's just a lot of that. And it's pretty cool. Why aren't you playing? Why do you do this? There we go.
Downloading the podcast, trying to participate. You know, I don't do the 750 mock drafts because that's a lot of...
I don't either. I don't do a lot. Some people are like mock draft psychos. They're just nonstop, like mock draft. I think I used to do more, and I'll probably try to do more this year, obviously, because I have the site and everything, and trying to get that going and hopefully get some people involved with me. But I feel like after a while, it's the same thing over and over again. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. Like, I'm drafting the same people in the same spots with the same, you know? It's like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
It'd just be like throwing darts on Dupper. I'll pick that guy. I'll pick that guy. I'll pick that guy. But I do listen to other people's, and you know, it's pretty cool. You know, you learn some stuff. I will research the occasion. I research too many players because I end up liking everyone I look at. I like that. And then we don't get them, so I'm bummed. I'm trying to think, did we pick anybody last year I liked? No. Because I wanted Emeka. What you doing, bro? You can turn left on a yellow light. Oh, my gosh. I wanted Emeka Kabuka or Kombucha, whatever his name is. And I, just like the year before, I wanted Smith Jinjigba. Didn't get him either. I do kind of focus on the fun ones, you know. I don't like really get into checking out offensive linemen because like, you blocked that guy, cool. But I do look at all the offensive guys because they're just fun to look at. There's a running back who's plowing through people, I'm on it. There's a quarterback throwing dimes for the 80 yards, I am on it. You know what I'm saying? The receiver cutting through people, juking people's ankles out and making them lose their soul, I'm there watching. You know, if you're a good tackling linebackers, safeties, I got that too, but just the line, it's hard for me to, to say. But anyways, I am looking forward to all that stuff. Ryan, you're the guy. You're taking me there. You're the dude. You got the leash. You got the thing hooked in my nose, and you're dragging me through all the.
All right. Calm down.
The college recruits and stuff. So let's do this. I'm ready to hopefully not be disappointed next year. So go Pack Go and stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like the more I do this, the more I realize, again, because it's all kind of fake, the more the process really should be down to familiarizing yourself and getting excited about as many prospect as is possible. You're going to do it anyways. You know what I mean? I mean, it's fun to be like, I like this guy and I hate this guy. And this guy's great, but this guy's terrible. And I would never want him on my team because you're going to draft that guy. And then you're going to be pissed. And then you're going to watch him again, and you're going to watch him until you can convince yourself that you actually like him. So there's nothing wrong with like having an opinion and actually standing by that opinion and whatnot. But it's worthwhile, I think, to at least understand the upside and what there is to get excited about that prospect, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? There's always going to be guys where it's like, nah, I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I'm not super with it. But if we draft them, whatever. But, there's I've noticed that a lot of like really hardcore draft people that do this fully year round NFL draft stuff, they get excited about a lot more people. They still have the, I don't know about that. That was kind of a reach or whatever. but they can at least articulate the positives, which a lot of us cannot. It's just, I hate that guy's terrible pick. And we're doing that in like the first, second round, which is crazy. Because again, like every single team would rather take them than everybody else in the entire draft right now. But yeah, I mean, just to be able to get excited about a lot of guys, that would be my goal, is to get to the point. And I don't know if this year will be the year. I'm going on an absolute bender right now, and I'm making progress at lightning speed like I've never done before. Thank you, AI and the Draft Podcast. But to be able to familiarize myself with enough people that the ultimate goal is to get through all 7 rounds with knowing pretty well most of them, and also having some UDFAs where it's like, oh man, I hope we get this guy kind of a thing, I doubt that happens this year, because you're talking, not that I wouldn't be able to know them, but knowing them well is a different thing. And you're talking about 257 draft picks. And in order to be able to know all of them, I mean, you have to have 350 to 400 in your back pocket, because it's not like there's just 257 of them and those are the guys getting picked. I mean, there's going to be guys that everybody thought was not going to be getting picked in like the 5th, 6th round. It'll be the Packers doing it. So I'll say for the website, I hope to have, let's say, 250 profiles. As far as my personal deep familiarity, I've done 100. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. And again, the problem is we don't have a first round pick. So if I know 100, I basically am familiar with maybe 1 to 2 of our picks that we're going to make. I mean, our third pick is at pick 120, but we'll see how she goes. Point is, get to know as many of these guys as possible. There's really nothing wrong with watching highlights. I mean, if you want to get super hardcore into it, but I think you're just going to make yourself hate it. Try it. Try to watch more, down to down, snap to snap stuff, but you're just going to make yourself miserable. So, familiarize yourself with them. Get my draft guide. If you don't want to, just, Google it or AI it and try to familiarize yourself with the different prospects, and tune into the podcast. And again, it's just about the ultimate goal is when they make the pick, go, oh, nice. Like, I know that guy and I like that guy. Like, it's a good prospect. He does this, That's kind of, that's my goal. And I think that should be the ultimate goal, because it's the way to maximize our joy on draft day. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Nico again. So I'm listening to another thing, and they're talking about how should we have hired John Schneider?
At what point?
I know that they have to, and they're doing it by me calling you. They're giving you a little content. I know they have to just kind of be controversial and say stuff, and I get it. It's easy to go, well, he won another Super Bowl, so he's better than good. But just let's say they would have hired Schneider. Doesn't mean we win another Super Bowl. Just because he did it in Seattle doesn't mean he's going to do it in Green Bay. I hate the whole narrative of looking back at the results and saying, well, we should have done this, because it's stupid. It's just stupid, right? There's nothing to sure thing. Even though we should have picked TJ.
Well, I would just love to know what they're talking about, because he went over to Seattle in 2010. So what, we're going to fire Ted Thompson like the year we won the Super Bowl? After like 2009? That doesn't make any freaking sense. When would we have hired Schneider? When would this have happened? What is the thought process here?
What, over Kevin King? Of course. Looking back, we could make that decision. And even beforehand, people wanted him, but before he was drafted, we didn't know TJ Watt was going to be as good as he is. I think he's better than his brother, right? There was probably maybe a greater chance. And honestly, when we got, what's-his-face, King, I was like stoked, tall, fast. At the time, they said very fluid with his hips, which is important for a cornerback. I was hoping he'd be like Richard Sherman, because everyone's trying to get that Richard Sherman too, right? That dude locked down 1/2 of your field for defenders, or for
Well, and the other problem is people they spend too much time pretending that anybody knows anything. That Ted Thompson was an idiot for doing that, and Schneider, or not even Schneider, the Steelers, I guess it would have been, are geniuses for picking TJ Watt. Why did TJ Watt almost fall out of the first round? Because nobody knew that he was going to be what he is. He would have been a first pick, a first overall pick, had anybody knew that he was going to be that good. Nobody knows anything. Everybody's to some degree guessing based on traits and characteristics, and they're all mostly using the same playbook. The idea, I mean, you understand that there's a lot of other teams. First of all, Kevin King would not have made it much longer in that draft. He would have been the next pick or the pick after that or the pick after that. And every other team would have made the same decision and taken Kevin King somewhere in and around that range. The idea that like everybody knew he was trash except us because we're so stupid and everyone else is so smart. Everybody's guessing. They don't freaking know. That's why the only thing that matters is process. And I'm sorry to tell you, but Schneider and Thompson and Gutekunst are reading out of the same book. They're using the same process. And in 2010, he went over to Seattle and immediately started setting this team up for success. He did a good job. He also was picking up a team that was dog crap. So he took Russell Okung at pick 6 and then had another first-round pick and got Earl Thomas at 14. And then got Golden Tate at 60. They basically had 3 picks in and around the time that we had 1. The next year they had some success, and in the first round they picked James Carpenter. Who the hell is James Carpenter? Well, they got Richard Sherman in the 5th round. That's true. You know what else that is? It's freaking luck. It was the 5th round. They didn't know he was going to be that good, or they would have drafted him in the 1st round. But instead, they took James Carpenter, and then John Moffitt, and then KJ Wright and Chris Durham. Why would they pick all those people and wait until pick 154 to pick Richard Sherman? Because nobody knew Richard Sherman would do that. That's why he fell that far. It was luck. If it was talent, he would have been taken in the 1st round. Stop it.
Right? That dude locked down 1/2 of your field for defenders or for your receivers, and that's a pretty dang good thing to say. Not a lot of cornerbacks can do that. But to look, we drafted Luke Musgrave. I wish we would have got that safety guy that the Lions got, who had the highest tackling rating in college. No doubt our defense would be better because of that. But at the time,
well, and here's, sorry to keep interrupting you, but this is like common sense stuff that I'm so tired of hearing about. I want you to think about something. It's kind of like the lottery. You know what dawned on me when it comes to the lottery? Obviously, everybody knows that your odds of actually winning the lottery are astronomical. Like, it's 1 in a bajillion, right? It's not going to happen. But you know what I realized? Your odds of getting close are also astronomically higher. So for every chance that you have of getting exactly every number exactly right, do you know how many people must have gotten exactly every number right except 1? And of those people, do you know how many people got exactly that number right except for 1, and that 1 was 1 number off? Do you know how many times that happens? Way more often than the person that wins. Think about it. Each number has a number on either side of it, right? So think about all the other numbers that last number could be. And how many times people hit those numbers. And then as it gets closer to that last number, it gets even crazier that it's like, I got every single number except that. You know what I'm saying? It's the same with the draft. Most drafts are misses. Very rarely there is a hit. So the idea that it's like, oh, we keep messing up. There's always these guys that get taken. No kidding, dummy. That happens to everybody all the time. Because for every hit, there's 10 picks on either side of misses. Where it's like, oh, we should have taken that, 1 pick later, or 2 picks later. Look at this. They got drafted then in the 2nd round. What did we draft? We drafted this guy. No kidding. Because most picks are misses. And you could do that, by the way, with, here, let's see. Who's everybody's favorite pick here? Let's do something. So let's take Zach Tom for an example, right? We took him with a compensatory pick in the 4th round. The Cincinnati Bengals were the team that took a tackle before Zach Tom. Right? Like 4 picks before. Cordell Volson. Who is Cordell Volson? I have no idea. 2 picks before that, the San Francisco 49ers drafted offensive tackle Spencer Burford. I don't know who that is. The Jets in the 4th round took Max Mitchell. No, I don't know who that is. By the way, we also took Romeo Doubs with the 4th pick, or in the 4th round. The wide receiver before that was the Miami Dolphins, who drafted Eric Izukanma. Anybody? They could have had Romeo Doubs, and they chose Eric Izukanma. Before that, in the 3rd round, the 49ers took Danny Gray. Before that, the Cleveland Browns took David Bell. Before that, in the 3rd round, the Cowboys took Jalen Tolbert. Before that, in the 3rd round, the Bears took Velus Jones. You see what I'm saying? These are mostly bad picks. So if you look at when you hit, if you look around where you hit, it's mostly misses. And so people can look back and go, oh, instead of that pick, we could have taken this pick. It's not a rare phenomenon. It's basic mathematics. When you have more misses than hits, this is how it's going to go. It's going to be hits surrounded by misses. And so when you look at your misses, which is going to be most of your picks, if you look to your left and to your right within like 5 picks, there's probably a hit somewhere. I mean, do you know who was taken 1 pick after Justin Fields? Micah Parsons. The Bears took Justin Fields, and the very next pick, Dallas Cowboys took Micah Parsons. Do you think we're like unique in this? When we talk about, we took Josh Myers before Creed Humphrey, right? That's a real kick in the pants. Seattle picked shortly before that too. Do you know who they took? Dwayne Eskridge, the wide receiver. They could have had Creed Humphrey also. They have offensive line issues. Instead, they took Dwayne Eskridge, the wide receiver who can't do anything. There's your genius GM for you. By the way, the Bills, right before us, took Boogie Basham. The Panthers drafted Terrace Marshall. I mean, there's a ton of bad picks around Creed Humphrey. Because duh. Oh, man, we could have had T. Higgins. Right, we could have had T. Higgins. That's true. We got Jordan Love instead, which is actually better, so you're all dumb for saying that for all those years. But do you know who Seattle took before T. Higgins went off the board? Linebacker Jordan Brooks. A giant pile of crap. By the way, the very next pick was Patrick Queen, who's having a very good career in Baltimore. Linebacker. I mean, before we took Elton Jenkins, the Lions took Jelani Tavai. Before the Saints took Eric McCoy, the Seahawks took Marquise Blair. Before the Titans took A.J. Brown, the Vikings took Irv Smith Jr. Before the Eagles took Miles Sanders, the Bengals took Drew Sample. 2 picks before Seattle took wide receiver DK Metcalf, the Cardinals took Andy Isabella. This is not a science, all right? I mean, it kind of is, but it's a very inexact science.
Yeah, I want another tall, fast tight end. I mean, there's no guarantee. It's kind of, saying we should have drafted this guy over this guy after the fact is like going, well, you picked the wrong lottery numbers, man.
Yeah. You
should have picked these numbers. Duh. Like, well, it's easy to say when it's done. That's why it's called Monday morning quarterback. Because everybody is a great Monday morning quarterback.
Right.
Everyone's 10 for 10. So, yeah, maybe we should have drafted this guy over the other guy. Who knows? I bet you the Niners thought they drafted the better quarterback when they got Alex Smith. You know what? They didn't. They probably thought they did. And if they draft Rodgers, do they win a Super Bowl? Do they win more than one? Maybe they win more. Maybe they draft Rodgers. Rodgers wins 3 Super Bowls to the Niners, and we hate him. You know, you don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess if for people that are saying we should have drafted this guy, we should have hired this guy, I'm going to tell you, I can tell you what old lottery numbers to pick too. So
yeah, I agree, and that's why I've been on a mission. It's been relatively unsuccessful in trying to figure out how to make it work, but I've been very interested in the idea of having everybody kind of put their name on something as opposed to just saying after the fact, especially like with that whole T. Higgins thing, because again, first of all, they were wrong. But beyond that, nobody wanted T. Higgins. There was a list of a bunch of other guys that people wanted. T. Higgins was not that dude that people wanted. But of course, after the fact, everybody, oh, why'd you get T. Higgins? T. Higgins, T. Higgins. Everybody loves T. Higgins all of a sudden. Interesting. So what I would love to do is have everybody just it could be as simple as like, what would you have done with this pick? We could do it like on draft day, second round, Packers make a pick. Everyone's either happy or they're upset or whatever. Okay, make your pick now. It's basically a mock draft, but you make your pick based on what's available. And we could do, we could do like a built-in, you pick for a team thing. That's actually not a bad idea. So you can select for the team, and it works like a mock draft, but every other team makes the selection. Obviously, it would be different down the line, but it is, as long as it ends up with the same selections available, picks available at the end, which is kind of impossible. But I guess it wouldn't be a mock draft, really. It would just be something kind of different where there's no other teams picking. It's here's the first pick, here's your list to pick from, pick someone. Here's your second pick, here's the list to pick from. You do that, and then everybody could kind of keep that, and that would be kind of a cool thing just to have sitting there. And then before you can talk to me about anybody sucking or anything, I want to see your mock draft from when you did were picking for the Packers. You could still do it with any old mock draft, I guess, but it's easier if it's like you have the same exact opportunities the Packers had. The trades are going to be tough, but let's just assume, you made the same trades or something. I don't know. It doesn't have to. See, this is where it always gets freaking overcomplicated, but still, I'd like to see your freaking genius. And then also just compare, okay, how are the fans compared to Gutekunst? Of course, some people are going to have significantly better drafts. Obviously, there's a massive sample size of people. The question is, what does the aggregate look like?
Hey, Ryan, TJ from Alabama.
Actually, TJ, you know what? Why don't we take a break? We'll be right back with you.
Hey, listening to you talk on Packernet After Dark, and you said something that was interesting. You say things that are interesting to me all the time, but it just kind of struck a little chord, and at least enough of one to get me to call. But you talked about it a little bit, and then somebody else talked about it a little bit. But the first thing, is the concept of, there's so much build up to the Super Bowl, and this year a little bit less for a lot of Packer fans, including myself, but, so much build up. And then literally like 24 hours after it's over, everybody is on to the next season, which is cool. I like that. I'm on to the next season.
Yeah.
And, it's like, it's all that build up, and then the moment it happens, 24 hours later, it's done. And then really, last year's Super Bowl winner is almost an afterthought. Like, nobody really gives a rip who won it last year until we got a few more years under our belt and you're counting championships. And you're saying, hey, in the last 50, in the Super Bowl era, this team's won X number of Super Bowls. So historically, it becomes a little bit more of a thing. But like the year after, did I really care at all that Philadelphia was last year's Super Bowl winner? Will I care this coming year that Seattle won it? It don't matter at all to me. But then historically, after some more years go by, it's a little something. The other thing you said, which I had not really thought about before, is the concept of the waves. And the Packers are this low rolling tide that we're always pretty good, at least in the last, 40 years. And obviously we've been good enough to win it twice, but we're just kind of always there. And I've always thought that, hey, as long as you get the ticket to the dance, anything's possible every year. And I still believe that, but you brought up the point that maybe we're always, falling short because the other teams are kind of, I don't want to use the term all in, but the other teams are peaking, and we're just always kind of good, where it ends up where we always fall short a little bit. So I just thought, I don't even have a point, but other than I think that was interesting. Other than, the Micah trade was kind of an all-in move. It didn't work out. He got hurt, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But that was Goody's effort to say, crap, we're going. And that was a real effort. It didn't work out. It may work out next year. But I found all that interesting. So I agree. I think the peak of the wave is kind of where it's going. But I think Micah was that move for us, and we'll see how it goes. All right, that's it. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, you're right about the Micah thing. it isn't sort of like a slow rolling kind of a deal. In fact, it is kind of a question of how do we get out of this role? Because it's not really a decision as much as just the situation you're in. The reason these teams peak and we don't isn't because of some kind of a failure or anything like that. It's just the situation. A lot of these teams peak. Why? Because they end up with top 5, top 6 picks. John Schneider, when he had all these, this great, many of them are not that great, but people will point out, like, look at these 5, 6 great first round picks. Every single one of them is a top 20 pick. Every single one of them. Gutekunst has maybe one every 3, 4, or 5 years, right? You get that like 13 overall pick or something. Your Van Ness, Rashawn Gary pick. Otherwise, you're picking significantly later. You also have a bunch of money to throw around, which we don't have because we pay people because we have better players. And so I've been kind of thinking about that because I kind of had the same thought you did, that whenever it popped into my head, I was like, that's actually kind of an interesting thought. I don't even take credit for it. It's just like, that's a weird, very interesting thing that just came flooding into my brain. But I think my thought on it is it's not that you can't win without the peaks. We're seeing teams kind of peak and spike like that, like Seattle did, which, by the way, again, they did because they were so bad. It's what a lot of the Schneider people don't want to acknowledge. They only got that because they were bad, and that gave them an opportunity, and they capitalized on that, which caused them to skyrocket. Everything just kind of came in and spiraled upward real fast, and they were able to capitalize on it. So good for them for that. But that's a different playbook because we don't have that. And so unless you're advocating for tanking just so that we can get early picks and, cutting a bunch of players so that we have a bunch of money so that we can try to spike real quick. But I think that that's stupid. That's not what the Patriots did. That's not really what the Eagles did. That's not what the Kansas City Chiefs do. It's not what a lot of the teams that have success do. So the point is, it's just a different playbook. And the question is, how do we win? And talking about like, oh, look at Schneider, look at Schneider. Schneider didn't win playing with our rules and our playbook. Schneider won only because he failed and then got, super lucky when he needed to. When he had the best opportunity, he capitalized on it. But we don't have that. So, and again, to your point, which I think is a good point, I think Gutekunst manufactured a spike with Micah Parsons. Well, that kind of got freaking railroaded when everybody got hurt, including Micah Parsons. But I think I think you do go by the playbook, and I think the playbook generally is what you were talking about, which is what I've always thought also, which is you use the slow rolling waves so that you can get to the dance, and you hope that one of those waves is high enough to get you in there. That's what we did in 2010. You know what I mean? That's kind of what we did in the 90s, even though we were an elite team. It wasn't like some massive spike. We were a good team for a long time before and after. It just kind of all culminated and everything just kind of went right that year. And so I think that's the way the Packers have done it ever since the 90s. I think that's what a lot of teams like the Patriots and the Chiefs and whatnot do. It's about culture and it's about system. We want to employ a system so that we're always competitive, we're always in it, and you just need that certain thing. And again, Gutekunst tried to inject a spike, and this is the downside to trying to do that. That's what every fan wants to do, but as I've said a million times, there is no such thing as a guarantee. There isn't. And hurting your chances in the future for the prospect of today is dangerous. Now, I'm not opposed to the Micah thing at all, especially since he's young. If that was a 1-year thing, I'd be super pissed. But I'm only okay with it because theoretically or ideally, this is a multi-year thing. We'll have to see again how healthy he is coming back. But, I do think it's an interesting thought. And we'll see how it all pans out, I guess. But I think we have a different playbook. We can't play by the rules of the teams that have that got those studs in the top 10 when they were top 10 picks for 3 years, and then that culminated into like this elite. We can't use that playbook. That doesn't work for us, and we shouldn't ask for that either. Which I know a lot of people probably do. I'd rather just tear it down because I'm so sick of this crap, this mediocre bull crap. Which is not mediocre, but I guarantee that's what they would call it. And people have said that. They'd rather be terrible for 10 years if it means getting a Super Bowl. I would not. I wouldn't. I don't want that. But I don't live for Super Bowls. I live for football. I'm a Packer fan. That means I enjoy the regular. Oh, what does it matter? What do you mean, what does it matter? You tell me. Again, nobody believes that bull crap when people say that, by the way. It's just a way of being a negative frickin' grouch that's trying to win an argument. You don't believe that. If you did, you wouldn't watch on Sunday. You wouldn't be in your Packers gear, sitting in your comfy chair, getting all your favorite snacks and your family together and having a big party and celebrating every single score and every single win like it was the frickin' Super Bowl. You wouldn't do that if it was just about the Super Bowl. So stop saying that it is. The reality is I want to be a good team. I want to be a very good team that wins a lot of games because those teams have a very good chance of winning the Super Bowl, which is all you can really ask for. The other playbook seems to be really terrible and then get really lucky in a very short period of time and then launch up like a bottle rocket, like the Lions did, who, by the way, missed and are on their way back down. That's what most teams do, by the way. By the way, most teams are bad and they just stay bad. Occasionally, teams are bad and they get a couple hits and then they become good. And usually it's very short-lived and almost always they do not win a Super Bowl. It's so funny to me when something fails 900,000 times and then it works once and it's like, see, that's what we should do. Really? Really? Okay, great. Yeah, yep, you got it. Nailed it.
All right, Ryan, one more thing, just to get it off. I am excited for this offseason. I mean, I'm always semi-excited, but usually there's the after Super Bowl hangover for me.
Sure.
Where it's like, all right, I'm just kind of done for a little bit, and until we get into free agency, take that month and just kind of listen to music and other things. But this is a very interesting offseason to me. I mean, we got all the guys coming back from injury, which obviously we never know how that's going to shake out, but we got a lot of talent that's coming back from injury. I love the concept of getting Tucker and Christian Watson on the field at the same time with the boys. And then, we don't need to go out and we're not going to, nor do we need to go out and get 17 free agents. But, boy, sure, we could use a couple of specific ones, specifically defensive line. The offensive line doesn't necessarily need to be free agency, but clearly that's got some work. So I'm excited for the offseason, probably because it doesn't feel like, to me, that we're so far off. It's, we're close, and we got some tweaking to do. And Goody obviously knows that. He ain't going to share it all, but he obviously knows it. He was pissed, or at least sort of seemed like it. Yeah. So I'm excited to see. I'm not expecting a bunch of moves, but, boy, if we could make 2 or 3 key ones, and then, of course, the draft, always it's important to hit the draft. Hey, game on. Let's go. Go Pack, go. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I stand by what I've been saying. I know it's frustrating, and I know nobody wants to, or a lot of people don't want to accept it as the answer because I'm tired of it. But that is the answer. You build a team that can win, and this team can win. And you don't have to believe that, but of course they can. You've seen them at their best, right? So you know that they can play well. It's just a matter of you have to get that, and you got to be playing well at the right times. And health is going to play a part of that. And you know what? Firing everybody, firing your training staff and all that, it sounds nice, but we did it. We fired everybody, and then we had an even worse season the very next year. So they're just we always have to have the solution. There has to be a solution. We have to figure this out. There has to be some kind of sometimes there's just not. There isn't somebody that needs to be fired. There isn't some magic pill solution that's going to fix everything. There just isn't. And I think people absolutely hate that. They despise that. But it just is what it is. And, we freaking run it back. I mean, it's not to say that maybe there weren't better options. Maybe the coach needed to go, and that would have been the best thing. Maybe the GM needed to go. Maybe a lot of people need to go. Maybe some things need to come in. I don't know exactly. There's always tweaks that can make things better or worse, for sure. But, that doesn't mean we can't win. We need to be stop being so like black and white with everything. Like I've said, seriously speaking, you genuinely believe that, let's assume the Packers are healthy. If we run the simulation 10 million times, how many times do the Packers win? You're going to tell me it's 0? You're wrong. You're wrong. And you're either wrong because you're trying to be difficult and argumentative, or you're wrong because you know, math wasn't your strong suit. So again, all we're really trying to do is we're looking at it and saying, okay, we don't get 1,000 simulations. We get one. So we just need the equation of how many simulations per Super Bowl or Super Bowls per simulation are we at? You know, do we win it 1 time in 1,000, 10 times in 1,000, 100 times in 1,000, whatever it is. We want that number to be higher and higher and higher. And then you just run the simulation. You know what I mean? You run the simulation. And that's the best you can do. And you might have the best possible odds. You might have massively the best odds. You could have, you know, a freaking, you could roll a die and, you know, it's a 20-sided die and 19 of the 20 is Packers and one of them is the freaking Chiefs and the Chiefs end up winning. And it's not because the Chiefs are better. It's not because somebody needed to be fired. It's just because that's how it freaking fell. You know what I mean? I mean, we need to be honest about stuff. We need to be direct and we need to be correct about everything. But we also can't be so rigid that it's like, no. There has to be an answer. And because nobody can offer me an answer, I'm going to make up the first thing that I can that makes me feel better about stuff. That's not, you know, I understand being too foofy about this stuff and being like, oh, it's fine. Everything's going to be fine. I get that that's problematic. But so is just saying fire everybody because that's going to fix all our problems, because it's not. And that's not any more rational than anything else. So, you know, I don't have the answers, but I like our football team. I like our quarterback a lot. I think he's very good. I think Micah is probably still going to be one of the best, if not the best pass rushers in the NFL this year, because as I've said, it's basically a two-man race. And even though everybody thinks that what happened right now is the only thing that'll ever happen, so obviously everybody knows that Garrett's better. No, nobody knew that until this year. And you know what? It's going to be different next year because he broke a record for a reason. And that reason is because it's never been done before, including by him. So it's probably not going to happen again by him. You know what I mean? But I like our team. And I like Tucker Kraft. And you're right. I would love to know how many games have Christian Watson and Tucker Kraft played together. In fact, like, you could even add to that. Like, what if you add Reed to that equation? Reed, Dobbs, Tucker, Watson, and Love all playing the same game. How many times has that happened? So, you know, get this team back healthy. It's going to be scary. You forget about how good our safeties are on top of that. We talk so much about how bad everything. Oh, our corners are so bad. We can't win with these corners. Well, maybe we can win because of our safeties. Maybe we can win because of our elite pass rusher. Maybe we can win because of our top 5 quarterback. Maybe we can win because of our coach. Maybe we can win, you know, because of frickin', Watson and our receivers and Tucker Kraft. We spend so much time whining about the bad all the time. It's a good football team, okay? And they have a very good chance. And again, we have to stop with this thing where it's, oh, we're not as good as Seattle. Bro, it's 2026 now, okay? We would have said the same thing last year about Philly. Oh, Philly's scary. We did. Philly is so scary, man. I don't know how anyone's going to beat Philly. Nobody gives a crap about Philly anymore. It's a new year. So it's not a matter of how are we going to beat Seattle. It's about how are we going to be Seattle. We need to be the 2026 Seattle. We need to be the 2026 Philly or the 2026 Kansas City Chiefs or whatever year you are most enamored by. Whatever team and year you're most enamored by. That's what we need to be at this year. That's the goal. Be that team. We'll see how it goes. All right. I am going to get out of here. I appreciate all of you. Again, check out NFLDraftGrades.com. I will try to remember to start putting that in the show notes so that you guys can have an easy link to that. I'll start sharing it around a little bit more. Like I said, I haven't really been pushing it because there hasn't been a whole lot of data and whatnot. But I've been hitting that pretty hard. There's a lot of really good data in there now, and I've got it organized in a really cool way. I think tomorrow, although I got my class tomorrow, I don't know, we'll see. But I think tomorrow I might try to put together a little video and share that around so people can kind of see. And as I said, also, if you are a subscriber on Patreon, what I'm going to do is because the draft guide is going to be $5, $4.99, whatever. anyone that's on Patreon at a $5 tier or more is just going to get a coupon code. So you can apply that and just have it for free. If you want to, upsell that or something, we'll worry about that. That's a whole other thing I got to figure out how to take care of. But that's the plan. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.